Good morning. Service will be starting soon. If you'd like to come up and do Oshoko, offer incense before we start, feel free to do so. Or you can do it after service also. Thank you.
Noriko Sensei will now ring the Kansho shell bell, calling us to service. Thank you, Noriko Sensei, for ringing the concha. Good morning, buenos dias, ohayo gozaimasu. My name is Efton, and my pronouns are he, him.
My name is Shirley, and my pronouns are she, her. We're both coming off a 10-day Asian film festival, so we're kind of bleary-eyed. So bear with us. And so many of the temple members we saw actually at the film festival, and so that was really nice to see people outside the temple setting, but at a community event. And we saw people like, well, Margot, I don't see Margot, Wendy, Kay was there. Who else? Oh, Carrie was helping out, and Bobby was manning a booth, and Kimberly's family, the Cruz family were there. And yeah, if you were there, you can do a shout out. Unless you're on live stream, we won't hear you. But okay. And anyway, so some of us saw the movie by Nobuko Miyamoto, and we got to sing and we got to dance Bambutsu no Tsunagari, and she stressed unity through song and dance and spirit. And I think, if I can say this, after the elections, we really needed that. So it was really a good feeling and good message. And then after that, some of us saw the cats of Gokoku Shrine, and it's a shrine in Japan. And some people go there just to look at the cats, and they find peace and solace there. I think we have stray cats around here, but I don't think people have the same feeling. So we could get Margot to start the cats of the Buddhist Temple of San Diego. Anyway, sorry. Okay. Anyway, so after an event, you know how sometimes we fill out a survey? And so Efton and I, we've gone to an event and they asked us to fill out a survey. And then when it came to sex, it had about 5 different choices. And so through the process of elimination, we determined that Efton was male and I am female. So the point is we need to be resilient and open to change because life has changed.
Do we have any first-time visitors to the temple today? Please stand. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to our temple. Welcome to our temple. Would you like to say where you're from? Well, welcome to our temple and for expressing an interest in Buddhism.
Okay, Reverend Hōkai Smitty Smith will be the officiant for today's Shotsuki Hoyo service. And this is where we're going to honor those who have passed before and give thanks. And then later, I'm sure she'll explain the process of what we'll be doing. And the minister's assistants, there's Reverend Imori, Bill Teague's here, Katie's here, and Noriko Sensei, thank you. And who else? Am I missing anybody? Is that everybody? Okay. And then this time for the music, it's going to be experimental. We're going to try to pull the music off YouTube. And so, you know how when you play YouTube, before that, it plays an ad? So we're going to try not to hear the ad, because when we were practicing with it, it came out, a toilet bowl cleaner ad came on. So we're going to try and start it after we skip the ad. So just bear with us. That's my part. Okay, the Dharma School High School class will now do the fruit and floral offering.
We will now have silent meditation led by Reverend Smitty.
Kansho, let us cease from wrath and refrain from angry looks, nor let us be resentful when others differ from us. For all humans have hearts, and each heart has its own leanings. Their right is our wrong, and our right is their wrong. We are not unquestionably sages, nor are they unquestionably fools. Both of us are simply ordinary beings. How can anyone lay down a rule by which to distinguish right from wrong? For we are all, one with another, wise and foolish, like a ring which has no end. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, 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 Namanda.
Okay, Reverend Smitty will now read the names of the Shotsuki Hoyo families and explain what to do.
I'll be reading the names of our deceased loved ones, family members, and friends from the month of November throughout the years. And as I read the names, you're welcome to come forward and offer incense during this time. Sonaka Kuroi, Maureen F. Nakano, Mitsuo Ishihara, Yukio Kawamoto, David T. Shiraishi, Kirk Akahoshi, Norman Satoshi Yagare, Tokuko Huffman, Kazuo Kosaka, Shigeru Oto, Ritsuko Nabeta, Dennis Morinaka, Yoshiko Nakamura, Akiji Ochi, Sachie Yamamoto, Albert Ichiro Saito, Tamayo Yashisaka. Philip Marine Martinez. Dick Toshio Hachisu. Husako Matsui. George Terusaki. Sadako Ishizu. Asako Fujiji. Kunio Kawamoto. Hiroichi Hiroshige. Max E. Barrett. Takeyoshi Ohara. Margaret Humiko Terada. Hatsuye Ueno. Sachiko Santo Higashi. Katsuyo Hamaguchi. Aiko Hamatake. Giichi Omori. Richard Ejima. Kimi Ikenoye. Fujie Sakamoto. Zensuke Suyoshi. Chiyo Yamashita. Kiku Suyoshi. Umeno Itami. Tora Azuma. Shigeru Masamoto. Isao Nishiguchi. Iwa Furuya. Sonojo Samashima. Kyoji Mayumi. Taira Hosaka. Shinobu Takeshita. Stephen Torio. Lillian Segawa. Nao Taketa. Motoji Yada. Hatsu no tsuji. Asa no iguchi. Okiku Sakamoto. Hamako Nakamura. Imataro Kawamoto. Masashi Ito. Yasuo Murata. Kanejiro Kondo. Mine Sugiyama. Aijiro Inoue. Kimon Shinden. Shika Masumoto. Setsuko Mizoshima. Suye Kato. Chiyo Yano. Shinyemon Honda. Shintaro Morikawa. Tsugi Imazumi. Again, you're welcome to come forward and offer incense for a loved one who has passed away in the month of November, whether their name was read this morning or not.
Thank you, Reverend Smitty. Do I have a time to tell a story about my dad? My dad was one of the names, Gichi Omori, that was mentioned in the Shotsuki Hoyo. I don't know if anybody remembers him. You'd kind of have to be fairly old. but but anyway, my dad used to dance in Obon every year, right? And in all the years, he never learned Bonodori Uta. He would always watch the teachers and be one step behind, right? And if you can imagine, it's kind of like, if you can imagine like Frankenstein is trying to teach Frankenstein how to do Bonodori. That was kind of like how my dad was. But my point is that my dad totally egolessly danced every year. He just went out there and he just danced. And he would tell me, just do the best you can. And that's like one of the lessons that, he taught me, or tried to teach me. Thank you. Okay, next, Reverend Smitty will lead us in the chanting of the Juseige, which can be found on page 35 of the Blue Service book.
Shirley, I'm going to invite you to share that as a Dharma talk for the kids next Obon. Agon chosegan hishimu jodo shigan fumanzok seifujo shogak gao muryoko fuidai seishu Fusai shobingu seifujo shogak gashi jobundo myosho chojipo kukyo mishomon seifujo shogak Ryoku Jin Shonen Joe Shubongyo Shigumu Jodo Isho Teninshi Jinriki Endai Ko Fusho Musaido Shoujo san kumyo kosai shuyakunan kaihichi egen meshi konmoan heisoku sho akudo tsudaten zen shumon Koso jo manzok ioro jippo nichigaten shujuki tenko onpugen ishukai hozo kose kudoku ho Jo dai shuchu seppo shishiku kuyo isai but gusoku shutoku hon gane shinjo man toku isan gai o Yobuten mugechi tsudaten mi fusho gangaku erik toshi sai shoson shiganya koka daisen okando Koku shotenin to chin myoke namandabu Namandabu sai doden vodai shin ojo an rako. Gasho namandab, 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 namandab.
Please stand if you're able for the recitation of our pledge, which can be found on the insert in the blue service book. Please read out loud with me. Our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I shall share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha, not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance. I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and the sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha, who tirelessly works to liberate all. Gasho. Namandas, Butsu. Namandas, namandas, namandas. Thank you. You may be seated.
Reverend Smitty will now give the Dharma School message.
Well, good morning, everybody. So good to see everybody and hear everybody here today. So who's happy to be here? Oh, wow, that's awesome. Is anybody not happy to be here today? Oh, okay, one or two. Is anybody angry to be here today? How about anybody disappointed to be here today? Perhaps you thought you would be somewhere else and instead found yourself here at Temple. Well, whether you realize it or not, being here today is just part of your path. Sometimes, once we realize we're on a particular path, we stick to it no matter what. As in coming to Temple every Sunday, regardless of our mood or what's happening around us. I know there's some people like that. They're all the time. That's part of their path. But other times, when we find ourselves on a particular path, we take side roads or detours. Sometimes those detours are of our own choosing, and sometimes the detour is forced on us. Maybe you really wanted to be at Temple last week, but you came down with the flu, and so you had to stay home. But you could watch it on YouTube. Or maybe you planned to be at Temple last week, but your favorite auntie dropped by for a visit, so you chose a detour to have lunch with your auntie instead. And since each of us are learning about finding our paths, I'd like to talk about some things that can happen with paths. And those are roadblocks and detours. So In the movie Kung Fu Panda, anybody seen that one? Okay, quite a few of you. Good. Master Oogway says to Master Shifu, one often meets their destiny on the road they take to avoid it. So sometimes we take a detour to avoid something that may be unpleasant or undesired, but we end up in that unpleasant situation even though we took the detour. That's what Master Oogway is talking about. How many of you drive a car? Okay, quite a few of you. Nobody in pre-K to second or third and fourth grade classes drives your own car? Oh, some of you do, okay. Are these real cars or are they, video game cars? I hope they're just video game cars. Well, if you've been riding in your parents' or grandparents' or some other adult who has a driver's license car, or maybe if you're driving your car in your video game, have you ever come across a sign along the road that says detour? Do you know what a detour is? Yeah? No. Yeah? What's a detour? A block, yeah. A block can mean a detour. So a detour, yeah, can indicate that the road is closed or blocked because maybe something like repair work is happening, maybe filling potholes on the road or putting in new water lines on that road. And sometimes a detour might be set up to avoid a stretch of road where something like a bad accident just took place. But when we take the detour, the difficulty or unpleasantness that we might be avoiding, like the road construction or an accident, might then be encountered along our new route. So the detour can take us over a different road, and it turns out that different road is filled with potholes, and so we're bumping along anyways. Or perhaps the detour takes us to a different road that another accident occurred because of all the increased traffic on that detour route. So we changed our path only to encounter what we were trying to avoid in the first place. There's a French writer and poet named Jean de La Fontaine who wrote a fable titled The Deer and the Vine, and he wrote the original line that Master Oogway later restated in Kung Fu Panda. And La Fontaine stated it as, a person often meets his destiny on the road he took to avoid it. And the phrase encapsulates the idea that often, despite our best efforts to avoid a certain difficulty or outcome in our path in life, we end up facing it anyways when we take that detour. So in La Fontaine's fable, there's this deer who's afraid of hunters, and the deer flees into a deep and dark forest where it gets disoriented and then entangled in a vine. And the more the deer struggles to break free, the more it becomes trapped in the vines. Eventually, the hunters find the trapped deer and they capture it. So I guess the moral of this fable, and by extension of the phrase, suggests that sometimes our attempts to avoid problems or things we fear lead us directly into those unwanted situations. But not all detours along our path are negative or meant to avoid unpleasant things. Sometimes a detour along our path could lead to an unexpected or wonderful event or experience. So a couple months ago, some high school students made a detour from the usual Sunday temple routine, and they attended Techno Hoyo at LA's Nishibetsuin. Anybody here who attended? Yeah, a few of you, all right. So that was kind of a detour from your usual Sunday. And even the Techno Hoyo itself was kind of a detour from your usual service, I think. Yeah, it was a new and different experience. And well, you missed out on, maybe some of the things that went on here at Temple. What you did get to experience was the music and lights and that whole atmosphere of the Techno Hoyo event. So you were still on your path, but you just discovered something new by taking that detour. And sometimes we think we're on a particular path and we're headed for a certain destination, and our life guidance system or our personal GPS suggests a different route. And that detour may open up possibilities we never thought about. Perhaps you were sure that your path included something like, I don't know, playing basketball. Maybe that was your sport, and you were just going to play for the NBA or WNBA because that's what you wanted to do. But then somebody invited you to try water polo. And you try it, and you find out that you're a superstar in the pool. So you kind of took this detour and found out something really amazing about yourself, just because that detour was open to you, it was offered to you. There are many times when apparent roadblocks get in the way of achieving what we think our desired goals are. And these roadblocks make it seem as though we need to abandon our current path and find an entirely new path with this completely new destination. When I was younger, these roadblocks could easily discourage me. If I thought I was going to do something and I ended up having difficulties with it or couldn't get there on the path I was on, that would really upset me a lot. But now in my older and hopefully wiser days, I sometimes see roadblocks as just another detour, and now I know there's a lot to learn from the detours along my path. We can use these detours to our advantage and use what would have been a roadblock or a road closure as a way to change our path slightly and still get to where we want to go. The journey is just a little different than what we expected or initially envisioned. If our normal, most direct route is closed, we don't change our destination. If you're going to your grandparents' house and there's a roadblock, do you decide, let's go to the grocery store instead? No, you want to still go to your grandparents' house to visit. So we don't abandon the trip because we can't go along our so-called normal path. Instead, we take the detour and continue along our journey toward that goal. So that detour may take us longer to follow than what our originally intended path was, and the detour might make us do some things that we had not originally planned to do. Like maybe the detour takes you past an ice cream store. So on the way, you decide, let's stop there and get some ice cream. It's kind of unexpected, probably not what you had in mind, but it doesn't hurt to have a little ice cream and then continue along your journey. So the detour might show us some things that we wouldn't have otherwise seen. And the detour might give us a chance to learn some new skills or give us insight into ourselves that we wouldn't have learned if we just stayed on our original path. And sometimes a detour might actually be a little fun to follow, like the one that takes you past the ice cream store. So we might find that we're taking in the wonders along our detour path, and hopefully we're discovering great new things as we adjust our path in that journey of life. So just think about the fact that not all roadblocks are negative things, and sometimes detours can open your eyes to something wonderful on your path. So please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida, Namandab, 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 Namandab.
Thank you, Reverend Smitty, on your talk about being on the path and coming across obstacles, which can be you may have to avoid, you may have to face what you're avoiding, or even new and exciting detours will take, the detours will take you on new and exciting adventures, and we're all on that path, and eventually, hopefully, we will get back to the path and stay on our path to reach our goal.
Please stand if you're able for the Gatha, Namo Butsu, which can be found on page 122 in the service book. Follow along with YouTube.
Okay, this is where we're going to get experimental, and we're going to try to get the music off YouTube. And we're going to try to skip the advertisement. So hold on a second.
The Gassho, Namo Butsu, Namo Das, Namo Das, Namo Das. Thank you. You may be seated.
Avis Honda and Reverend Smitty will now introduce the Sangha teen officers.
Okay, even though you heard me in the back, that's okay. Hi, my name is Avis Honda, and I am the advisor, not the vice president, of the Sangha teens. And before I go on further, on behalf of the Sangha team members, I will thank you for your continued support. So this year we have our new cabinet, and when I call your names, please come up, do Oshoko, and then stand up here, okay? Our president is Kobe Kawahara. Our vice president is Matteo Mascola. Secretary is Penelope Schmidt. Our treasurer is Kira Sutharan. Nice mess. Immediate past president and religious chairperson will be Juliana Cruz. And then the assistant advisor will be Quentin Kawahara.
Okay, and if you'll turn and face the Onaijin, please. You, the newly elected officers of the Sangha teens of the Buddhist Temple of San Diego, in accepting this office, take upon yourselves certain responsibilities toward your Sangha and your temple. Are you willing to forego some of your personal desires for the common good? Are you determined to do your part during your term in office in spreading the ideals of Shin Buddhism by living by its core values, which is a life of gratitude for the benevolence of the Buddha and respect for the interdependence of all life? Will you provide your best effort and treat all others with respect, dignity, and fairness? Your participation in serving this group with the values of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism will enhance your life and the lives of the other members as well. If you take these responsibilities, please repeat the following affirmation after me. I take office in the Sangha teens of the Buddhist Temple of San Diego. I accept my responsibilities and affirm my aspiration to keep the teachings of the Buddha as my guide. Kansho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, 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 Namanda. You can turn around and please welcome the new officers of the Sangha teens.
Congratulations, Sangha teen officers. Are there any announcements? If there are, please come on up. You can line up over here.
Donna, well, very rarely have to raise this. Donna Club is collecting warm clothing, which will be donated to Streets of Hope through the month of November. Also, socks are very welcome, and blankets. So if you can bring them in, there are collection boxes downstairs, and I'll change some of those out so there's more room in them.
Thanks, Katie. I'm Bill. I wanted to let you know next Saturday is going to be pretty busy for our Sangha. And at 3 p.m., we're having our first seminar in end-of-life planning shukatsu. There are 2 handouts in the back about that. One is pretty, and it gives the basic information. And there's a second handout if you just want a little more detail. Also, Saturday at 5 p.m. for Taiko fans at the World Beat Center in Balboa Park, Taiko Palooza. So I think tickets are still available. The Shukatsu end-of-life planning is free, but there are tickets for Taiko Palooza. You'll be seeing almost all of the Taiko groups in San Diego County, singularly and then in joint concert at the end. At 6:30 p.m. back here at the temple, we have a lecture from our visiting guest speaker, Reverend Henry Adams from the San Mateo Buddhist Church on Eitai Kyo, which is the observance we're having this Sunday. I do have a few other announcements. Speaking of Eitai Kyo, it's traditional in San Diego anyway to also include that with an all-life memorial service. Dharma school students already have this form, but if you have a pet or other loved one, human, that you would like mentioned, please fill out one of these forms. They're in the back with the other handouts, and leave it at the temple office so that if they get it by Friday at the latest, then the names will be read and maybe even a few comments from the Onaijin. Finally, for our visitors, we are so grateful that for whatever reason you're joining us today. If you're interested a little bit more about the temple, we have this welcome sheet for November. It tells you about the temple and it tells you about events in November and coming up in December. Thank you very much.
Yes, good morning. Michael Shinzaki, co-founder of the San Diego Pickleball Association, has graciously offered another pickleball lesson at the San Diego Buddhist Temple. The date is going to be Sunday, December the 15th. The time is going to be from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., so prior to service. And the location will be in the indoor annex just next door. Both coffee as well as light refreshments will be provided. Feel free to bring a friend. A new sign-in sheet will be left in the temple office, or you can simply contact either myself, Brian Sasaki, or Glenn Torrio. So hope to see you there. Thanks.
Hello. Just to let everyone know, our Junior IBA Bodhi Day fundraiser this year is a burrito fundraiser lunch, which will be happening on December 1st from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. If you'd like, we have these tickets available. Please find any high school or junior IBA member, and we will have these tickets for sale. They're $10 donation, so yeah, we hope you guys can make it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Margot, your very friendly brittle lady. Shirley, Efton, and I have finally emerged from the 7 or 8 day Asian Film Festival, but the BWA ladies worked very, very hard to put these lovely packaging, and we got done so quickly, close to 1,000 bags, that we were going to hand the orders out next week, but those of you who have placed orders, you can go down to the nursery area and pick up your package. And we do have some left for sale, so that'll be in the far door of the hospitality room, and there'll be Kelly and Michael will be handing these out. And just like Smitty said, you came to service to go to service, but you could always make that little side trip to buy brittle. Thank you. This is the brittle popcorn. Thank you.
everyone. I would just like to thank you so much for donating to the Thanksgiving food drive. We really, really appreciate it. And also to let you know that today is the last day. So if you'd like to donate, then please donate today. So thank you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Penelope, and I believe we did an announcement about this last week, but just a reminder, Saturday, December 7th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. is the 28th Annual Pearl Festival. It is at Eastlake High School, the gymnasium in Chula Vista. Pre-sale is $15. It's $20 to pay like on the day, I believe. So a Pearl Lantern is the iconic symbol of the Filipino Christmas that inspires hope, unity, and sense of pride. Throughout the world, the Pearl Lantern lights up windows of Filipino households during the Christmas season. So you can join us in welcoming the holiday season with cultural performances, vendors, pearl making workshops, and Philippine Christmas treats. Our unique version of pearl making is perfect for all ages, so bring a friend or the entire family. You start your pearl making tradition with us this year, and yeah, you can ask me, my brother, or my parents about it. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all here at Temple today. I'll put another plug in for our Mochitsuki, which is going to be on Sunday, December 8th. We won't be having service that day because we'll be making over about 1,200 pounds of mochi for the new year. So we'll be needing a lot of help for that day. Cooking the rice, making it, pounding, grinding the mochi. That's something the Dharma school students are pretty good at doing. And then we'll be, the ladies will be cutting, molding it, and then cooling, and then packaging. Dharma school's really good at packaging and delivering the mochi to the selling area. So it's a big day for us, and it's a big process. So there's this board here that kind of explains our Mochitsuki process. So if you have a chance to take a look at it, it'll be downstairs in the dining room. On Saturday the 7th, we'll be setting up all the equipment and turning our annex hall into our mochi production area. So we'll be needing help with setup for that. And then on the 6th, we'll be washing rice from about 11 a.m. And then Sunday will be the Mochitsuki day. So bring your family, friends are invited to come. If you'd like to purchase mochi, it's $7 for the 1 pound bag of komochi, and $10 for the 2-piece kasane for your home obutsudan. And then the temple is always accepting donations toward the purchase of supplies for mochi, and the suggested donation is $100 toward all the supplies and all the rice that we're going to be purchasing. Okay, so hope you're able to make it to Mochitsuki on December 8th. Thank you.
The Dharma School kids are now excused to go to class. Please come up and offer incense before you leave.
Okay, Reverend Smitty will now lead us in the Vandana and Sarana, which can be found on page 96 of the service book. That's page 96. And please read the parts that say leader also.
This is a very ancient chant. The melody is pretty basic and repetitive throughout the Tisarana, at least. Maybe someday we can afford to put either the Western musical notes or the chanting annotations along for those who are unfamiliar with it. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo kie Butsu. Namo kie Ho. Namo kie So. Gasho namandab, 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 namandab.
Thank you, Reverend Smitty. We will now Reverend Smitty will now give the adult Dharma message.
Okay, how many of you drive? Oh, sorry. That was for the kids. So good morning again. Please join me in Gasho. The ultimate expression of gratitude is the saying of the name, Namo Amida Butsu, acknowledging the good karmic circumstances that have blossomed into the true and real life of Nembutsu. Gratitude on the conventional level is a response to favors, kindness, and good fortune received from others. But gratitude on the religious level is an affirmation of the gift of life itself, whether we are young or old, poor or wealthy, in good health or bad, living all alone or surrounded by loved ones. Namo Amida Butsu, Namandab, 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 Namandab. In case you're curious, that quotation is from Reverend Taitetsu Uno in his book, Bits of Rubble Turned into Gold. And we could say, as Reverend Uno did, a simple definition of living a Shin Buddhist life is to live a life of gratitude. It's said that the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, is at once both the calling of Amida to us and our response back to Amida in gratitude. So in living a Shin Buddhist life, it seems that our default response to every encounter, every action, every gesture, every opportunity, and everything received by us should be Namo Amida Butsu, or thank you. But I know, at least from my own experience, it isn't. In fact, my own response to life is, unfortunately or sadly, something that might be snarky and in the form of a complaint. Lately, I feel that more and more people, including me, have forgotten how to say a simple thank you and instead react to much of our lives by complaining. You know, in some ways that's understandable right now. Many of us are going through some tough times. Some of us are unsettled because of economic or financial challenges and the high cost of living. Others are disquieted by the seemingly endless mass shootings and gun violence that happen all the time. Some are shaken by the increasingly violent racism or overt hatred toward LGBTQ plus individuals. And for some, it's world crises, things like the war between Russia and Ukraine, or the fighting in Gaza and the West Bank, involving Israel and Hamas and Hezbollah and all those who are caught in between these disagreements, these arguments, this animosity, the hatred. And then there's many who are disoriented following the elections and even just the current fractious nature of our society right now. So some fears and ranting or shouting may feel very real and justified. But unfortunately, you know, we can get very focused on ourselves and lose perspective. We imbibe in the poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance, and we forget all about compassion or even simply gratitude. I'm not trying to belittle the things that many people are going through right now, but I think we might want to take another look at exactly what we're experiencing and whether we want to stay in that mood or that mindset, or take a better look at what we actually do have and what we might be grateful for. Because all too often we feel just dissatisfied, or we feel cheated, or we feel that somebody else got a better deal. Maybe we feel entitled, or we feel slighted, or we feel misled, or we feel that the world owes us something more. We feel like we shouldn't have to do all the work. We feel that others should have to pay their fair share. And amid all these disgruntled feelings, some people have elevated complaining to an art form. We see it on Facebook as scathing posts, on Yelp as 0-star reviews. I know you can't really give a 0-star review, but you know what I mean. Very negative energy. And on TikTok as these rage-induced videos, or on Twitter, now X, as hate-filled or whiny tweets. You know, I even complained that Twitter is now X, and that's the mildest of my complaints about that social media platform. When I think about this, it's difficult to get away from all this complaining, so sometimes it's easier for us to just join in. In some ways, we've become a bunch of Goldilockses. You know Goldilocks, her and the three bears. As in, too hot, or too cold, or too big, or not a recliner, or not a pillow top, or not a Tempur-Pedic. Okay, if you're not that familiar with the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, that's from the updated version of trying out the bears' food, their chairs, and their beds. Well, the point is, we complain and rage about every little thing, even when, as in Goldilocks' case, it wasn't ours to complain about in the first place. We criticize and berate and whine as if it's our right. We fail to see the larger point, as in we have food to eat, or a chair to sit on, or a bed to rest in. And sometimes complaining becomes so second nature, it's almost absurd. You know, I'd like to share some complaints and examples of epic complainers who probably should have considered their situation more carefully before registering their complaints. And I came across these on the interwebs, so I know they absolutely must be true. So it seems that there was this first guy from Georgia who was just impossible to please. This man was a man who robbed a Wendy's in the Atlanta area and was so pissed off by his skimpy haul that he called the fast food restaurant twice to voice his disapproval. I guess he never heard that if you wanted to have it your way, you need to go to Burger King. And although that's slightly better than what the police say happened with a guy in New York, it seems that this man approached a bank teller in Syracuse and demanded $20,000. You know, that's not a lot. That's not $500,000. It's only $20,000. And when the thief got home and counted his ill-gotten cash, he discovered he'd been shortchanged. It wasn't the full $20,000. So outraged, the bank robber stormed back to the bank to tell them what he thought of their service, or lack thereof. That's when he was arrested. He just couldn't help but register his complaint in person. So both those guys are definitely suffering from that whole Goldilocks syndrome, complaining about what wasn't theirs in the first place. Then there are those among us who are just easily outraged and feel every little thing must be complained about, like the following vacationers. I mean, I just got back from a vacation, and I'm sure I complained about some things, but, you know, overall, it was great. With all the money that we spend on vacations, though, would it be too much to ask for nothing less than that perfect trip? Well, apparently these travelers didn't think that was too much to ask for, so this is a taste of what they told their travel agents. One vacationer wrote, "On my holiday to India, I was disgusted to find that almost every restaurant served curry. I don't like spicy food at all." A guest at a hotel in Australia complained that his soup was too thick, although it turned out he was unknowingly slurping from the gravy boat, not the soup. Following a trip to a theme park, one angry woman complained that the sun was so hot that it melted her ice cream. And an air traveler voiced her disapproval of all the clouds in the sky, saying that they ruined her children's game of I Spy. Oh, those pesky clouds. I think the one who found it too hot would have liked some clouds, and the one who was playing I Spy with the kids wanted it just to be hot and sunny, so I guess we can't have it all. But I may be mistaken, but shouldn't these complaints about the excessive sun or the clouds be registered with a meteorologist instead of the travel agent? Just asking. Maybe those people should all be grateful that they could afford to take vacations in the first place. And one final complainer who surprised me a little bit was a grandmother. And I think we have one or two grandmas here today. So my surprise wasn't the fact that she had complained, it was the manner in which she complained. It seemed that when this particular grandmother failed to receive a prompt thank you note from her 20-something-year-old grandchild, she wrote the note herself and sent it to this allegedly ungrateful young woman. It's kind of subtle here. The note said, "Dear Grandma, receive the check. Thank you. Love, your granddaughter." So yeah, that's a pretty subtle way for a grandmother to sort of complain. You didn't get a thank you for giving your grandchild some cash. But that story also makes me think of a typical parent trying to teach a young child the basics of gratitude. So when a child is given something, Often a parent will prompt them. So you give the kid a snack or a toy or a juice box, and that whole prompting comes with words like, "What do you say?" in an effort to elicit that thank you response in return. Because you see, gratitude doesn't necessarily come naturally for a 3-year-old or even that 23-year-old, not to mention those of us who are 43, 53, 93, and a whole lot of ages in between. So complaining seems to be easy, while gratitude seems to require reminders and prompting. And maybe that's because we learn from a young age that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We're practically given a license to complain, but we don't have any same kind of axiom or saying about gratitude. There's no squeaky wheel equivalent for thank yous. In fact, I've even come across t-shirts that tell us, "Monku, monku, monku," or to put it politely, "whine, whine, whine." If you complain enough, you get noticed or rewarded. But living a life of complaining doesn't really help us. And it really isn't living a Shin Buddhist life. Living a life of gratitude is living a Shin Buddhist life. We need to make that shift from whining to thanking. And it's not so much of a change in what we encounter, it's a change in how we view the things we encounter. Because we do encounter many negative things, or what we perceive to be negative in life. But if we just dwell on the negativity, it brings us down along with it eventually. So I'd like to share with you a list of some things to be thankful for that comes from the late Reverend Seigen Yamaoko's book, The Transmission of Shin Buddhism in the West. Now, this list was submitted to Yamaoka Sensei by a member of the Buddhist Church of Oakland, and it wasn't attributed to a particular author. In fact, Yamaoka Sensei claimed that the person found this list in junk mail. Although, most of the time I don't even open junk mail, I just toss it in the recycle bin. So this person apparently opened it up, and while I'm unaware of the author of the piece, it clearly expresses that shift of thinking that makes a negative life turn into a little more positive one and makes living a little bit easier for each of us. It's entitled, "I Am Thankful for the teenager who is not doing the dishes but is watching TV, because it means that he or she is at home and not on the streets. For the taxes I pay, because it means that I'm employed. For the mess to clean up after a party, because it means that I have been surrounded by friends. For the clothes that fit a little too snug, because it means that I have enough to eat. For my shadow that watches me work, because it means I'm out in the sunshine. For a lawn that needs mowing, windows that need cleaning, and gutters that need fixing, because it means I have a home. For the complaining I hear about the government, because it means we have freedom of speech. For the parking spot I find at the far end of the parking lot, because it means I am capable of walking and that I have transportation. For my huge heating bill, because it means I am warm. For the lady or gentleman behind me in church, or temple, that sings off key, because it means I can hear. For the pile of laundry and ironing, because it means I have clothes to wear. For the weariness and aching muscles at the end of the day, because it means I'm capable of working hard. For the alarm that goes off in the early morning hours, because it means that I'm alive. It would be easy for most of us to complain about the things and events mentioned throughout this list, whether it's the lazy kids, the dreaded tax day, the tiresome household chores, annoying temple members, or the physical difficulties and ailments. All it takes is a slight shift in thinking, and applying some positive mental attitude to enable us to see that each encounter is actually something to be grateful for instead of something to be grumpy about. But just like prompting the child to respond with thank you, we need prompting to flip that switch in our brains, to switch that little toggle from registering complaint to expressing gratitude. And it might not happen easily or overnight, but bit by bit, encounter by encounter, we can live a fuller life by living one of gratitude. We can then truly live a Shin Buddhist life. So please join me in Gassho. Every place and every time is the proper place and time to express our thanks to Amida. There isn't any place or time that Amida isn't continually supporting us, allowing us to live naturally, freeing us from angst about our imperfect selves or our future condition. Namo Amida Butsu, Namandab, 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 Namandab.
Thank you, Reverend Smitty, on your message of instead of complaining, let's remember to be grateful and say thank you. Please stand if you're able for the Gatha Ondokusan 2, which can be found on page 128 of the service book. That's page 128. And again, we're going to switch to YouTube, so bear with us. Gassho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you. You may be seated. We will now have closing meditation. Quote, if we believe that tomorrow will be better, we can bear a hardship today. Quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. Gassho, Namo Amida, Namandab, 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 Butsu.
We will now give the closing remarks. Thank you to Reverend Smitty Smith for the Dharma School and adult message. Thank you to Noriko Sensei for ringing the Kansho. Thank you to the high school class for doing the fruit and floral offerings. Thank you to Ken Muraoka, Reverend Honda, and Bill Teague, I think is that everybody, for the live stream. Thank you to the minister's assistants for setting up the onaijin. And I want to thank Naomi Himaka for her floral guidance. And thank you to all of you for attending today. And We hope everyone has a grateful for the dead day. Also, Noriko Sensei will be giving the Japanese Dharma message, so if you'd like, you could stay for that. And also, I think they're having hospitality in the lunchroom, one floor below. And before you leave, if you'd like to offer incense, please do so. Thank you.
よろしかったら前の方にお越しくださいね。あまりいっぱいいらっしゃらないから下低いところで上だとちょっと偉そうな感じになるので下でお話しさせていただきます。じゃあ始めさせていただきます。合唱お願いいたします。如来大悲の音読は身を粉にしても報ずべし、死守知識の音読も骨を砕きてもしゃすべし、 ナモアミダ仏、ナマンダ仏、ナマンダ仏、ナマンダ仏、ナマンダ仏。改めまして、皆さんおはようございます。お元気でいらっしゃいますか？ちょっと寒くなってきましたね。ね、この間私初めてヒーター朝つけまして、わあもうそんな季節かと思って、ね、こんなに早くつけてたら電気代が上がっちゃうななんて思いながらつけましたけれども、今ご紹介させていただいた、お言葉は、先ほど皆さんで歌いました音読山2の歌詞です。で、親鸞上人がお書きになった歌詩です。仏様のお慈悲ですとか、阿弥陀様、お釈迦様のへの先生としての感謝の意について書かれたものです。慈悲の心というのは、慈しみの心、コンパッションのことですが、大悲とか大慈悲ということ、大きな慈悲ということですね。というときは、仏様、阿弥陀様のお慈悲のことであります。で、小さい慈悲は、例えば病気で苦しんでいる人ですとか、困っている人を私たちがお見かけしたときに、どうにかして差し上げたいと思う気持ち、それを小さい慈悲と言います。で、そうですね、阿弥陀様の大きなお慈悲にと比べたらもうとても小さいものなので、小さい慈悲と言います。で、中ぐらいの慈悲は仏教に出会った時に働く慈悲だそうです。諸行無常、すべて物事が変わるということですね。諸行無常と分かっているのに執着、仏教では執着と言いますが、を離れることができない自分に気づいて、恥ずかしく思う心を起こさせるのが仏縁の慈悲、それが中ぐらいの慈悲ということです。こう説明しながらも全く理解ができない難しい、この中ぐらいの慈悲の説明がちょっと私よく分かっておらず、ちょっともっと勉強しないと難しいなと思っております。で、大きな慈悲は仏様のお慈悲ですとお話ししました。先々週英語でお話をさせていただきましたが、その際に、私がチャプレンとして仏様のお慈悲を見習いたいとお話ししました。大変おこがましいことでありまして、なかなかできることではないです。で、私の持ってると思ってるのはせいぜい小さい慈悲かなと思っています。チャプレンとして患者さんやご家族と向き合う際に、あなたは一人ではないですよということをお伝えしたいと2週間前にもお話ししました。これは私自身いつも強く思っていることですし、患者さんやご家族にいつもお話ししております。以前、そうですね、私が強く思っていることなんですけれども、以前このお寺のレジデントミニスターでいらっしゃった青山先生のご著書のタイトルでもあります。青山先生は何冊か、ご本書かれているんですけれども、これが一人ではないというご本です。青山哲司先生は5年前の2019年に往生されました。私がこのお寺に伺うようになってから大変お世話になりました。先生は私のチャプレンとしての大先輩でいらっしゃいます。龍谷大学の内山幸雄先生という方と私は親しくさせていただいているんですけれども、2020年にその内山先生が青山先生について論文を書かれました。こちらがその論文です。この表題がですね、アメリカにおける臨床牧会教育と信州僧侶という論文です。臨床牧会教育というのは英語でクリニカルパストラルエデュケーション、クリニカルパストラルエデュケーション ですね。で CPE というんですけれども、アメリカでチャプレンになるにはこのトレーニングを、大体ほとんどの方が受けられます。常々私は青山先生はアメリカでチャプレンをされた日本の方、それも仏教のお坊さんとしてはかなり初めの方にいらっしゃった方ではないかなと思ってたのですが、この論文を拝読してまさにアメリカで仏教徒としてチャプレンのトレーニングを受けられた一番最初の方であったということが分かりました。青山先生は1966年にアメリカにいらっしゃって、1971年にイェール大学の神学部研究員となられました。1966年にいらっしゃった時、奥様もご一緒、その時は違う、あとですね。はい、じゃあお一人でいらっしゃったんですね。ご自身がご病気をされたご経験の後、イェールでのスーパーバイザーであったドビホール先生の勧めによってチャプレンとしてのトレーニングを受けられることになったそうです。このトレーニングは先ほど申し上げたようにチャプレンになるには必要不可欠なものですが、1970年代の初期にはほとんどキリスト教の人しか受けていなかったようです。青山先生は仏教のお坊さん第1号のトレーニング受講者でいらっしゃったので、大変なご苦労をされたようです。先生のご著書の中にこのように書かれています。臨床カウンセリングの実習を行う私にとって、語学の問題、日本人であること、仏教の開教師であることというこの3点がドビホール氏のクラスにあっても、病院においても異常であり、周りから興味の目で見られていたことは事実である。また、このようにもおっしゃっています。東部地方では、東部地方ではキリスト教が盛んなので、毎日の私の生活感覚はキリスト教徒のど真ん中に他宗の私がいることは水の中に一滴の油があるような感じで、異分子的な存在であった。病院内でも毎日キリスト教のお祈りがあり、その度ごとに私だけは心の中で小さくお念仏を唱えていたものだった。なんだかもうギュッとなりますね。もう本当さぞかしもう大変でだっただろうなと思います。青山先生はトレーニングする仲間とグループワークをする中で理解できないことがあり、それをはっきりとスーパーバイザーとグループのメンバーにお話しされ、トレーニングの内容を変更することに至ったそうです。それまでアメリカ人ばかりの、それもクリスチャンのみだったトレーニング内容を青山先生がおっしゃったことによって変更がされたわけです。これは私にとってとてもありがたいことだなと思います。私もアメリカではいろんな意味で少数者、マイノリティであります。アジア人であり、その中で日本人であり、それも私自身が日本から来た移民一世ですので、英語が母国語ではありません。そしてキリスト教徒ではないし、その上女性です。アメリカで生活する上でマイノリティであることを毎日のように意識して暮らしています。皆さんはいかがでしょうか。毎日いろいろなご経験されることがあると思います。そんな中で私のようなものがチャプレンになりたいと思った時に道を切り開いてくださった青山先生は大変大きな存在です。青山先生やその後に続いてくださったマイノリティの方々がトレーニングを受けてチャプレンになってくださったから、私もこうして毎日チャプレンとして働くことができていると思っています。そしてこれはお寺の皆さんにも思っていることです。このお寺は2026年、再来年に 100周年を迎えます。100年前に日本からいらっしゃった方々は大変なご苦労をされたと思います。それから第二次世界大戦もありました。その頃にはアメリカの敵国の人間ということでひどい差別もあったと聞いています。このお寺もそのせいで一度焼かれてしまいました。そんな中で一生懸命働いて信頼される地位を築いてくださった日系の方々のおかげで、私は今そんな差別を体験することもなく生活できているのだと思っています。本当に大変感謝しております。100年前からいらっしゃった方々が道を切り開いてくださったおかげだと本当にいつも感謝しています。いまだアメリカはクリスチャンが大多数を占める国ですので、私たちは依然マイノリティですし、私自身チャプレンとしてマイノリティです。その中でキリスト教でないチャプレンというのは少し肩身の狭い思いを毎日感じながら仕事をしています。私の患者さんの中でアジアからいらっしゃった方も多くいらっしゃるのですが、いつも道を切り開いて切り開いてくださってありがとうございますとお話ししています。私たちの前にいらっしゃった方々が勤勉に働いてこの国での地位を確立してくださったからこそ、100年前と比べ物にならないぐらい快適な生活を私たちは送ることができるのだなと常々思っています。最後に青山先生と病院でお会いした時のお話をさせていただきます。青山先生はリタイアされてからチラビスタのシャープホスピタルでボランティアとして、ボランティアをされていました。その頃私も同じ病院でチャプレンとして勤務していました。ある時クリスマスの前、もしかしたらクリスマスの当日だったかもしれませんが、いつものように先生はナースステーションの近くでハーモニカを吹いていらっしゃいました。ナースの皆さんも患者さんたちもとても喜んで先生の演奏を楽しんでいらっしゃいました。時節柄先生はクリスマスの音楽をハーモニカで吹いていらっしゃって、病院もクリスマスの飾り付けがされてあって、すごくもうフェスティブなクリスマス一色の雰囲気だったんですけれども、ある曲を先生が吹き出された時に、あれこれはちょっとクリスマスの曲じゃないな、でも聞いたことがあるな、なんだろうこれはと思ったら親鸞様でした。お分かりになりますか、親鸞様。そよ風渡る朝の窓というやつですね。それをいろんなクリスマスの曲を吹く中でこう忍び込ませていらっしゃったんですね。でそれに私もその同じユニットの中で働きながらそれに気づいてもおかしくて、病院の廊下を歩きながら一人で大笑いしたのを覚えています。病院で働く中、患者さんのおつらいお話をお聞きすることも多いのですが、先生のご演奏によって明るい気持ちにさせていただきました。青山先生から本当に多くのことを教えていただきましたが、もっともっとお話しさせていただきたかったと思っています。本日はお話をお聞きいただきましてありがとうございました。それでは合唱してお話を終わらせていただきます。合唱。如来大悲の音読は、身を粉にしても法ずべし、死守知識の音読も、骨を砕きてもしゃすべし。ナマンダブツ、ナマンダブツ、ナマンダブツ、ナマンダブツ、ナマンダブツ。ありがとうございました。